So this might be a bad idea. I thought it'd be fun to do a boozy episode where I talk to you about my thoughts on 1Q84 by Haruki Murakami. 1Q84 by Haruki Murakami. I might make even less sense in this video, so bear with me. Grab yourself a beverage with me and let's get into it. First, this is a fat boy. Very big boy. Let's see. It is 1,157 pages. Now, my first comment about this book is that it does this really annoying thing where every other page, they have the page number in reverse. That's really annoying. It's a minor thing, but it's a thing that consistently annoyed me for over 1,000 pages, so it's worth mentioning. My bookish heart was really annoyed. It is a big book. Now, I have read other big books. I've read Game of Thrones, Name of the Wind, what have you. I think this is the first big book I've ever read that has such a small cast and primarily focused on two characters. You spend a lot of time with two people for over 1,000 pages. That is wild. I should clarify before I go too far into it. I liked this book. It's weird that I liked this book because on paper, it's all these things that should not have made Kelly happy. I'll read the back because that is a small summary that gives you a premise of what they say you're gonna get. A love story, a mystery, a fantasy, a novel of self-discovery, a dystopia to rival George Orwell's. 1Q84 is a tremendous feat of imagination from one of our most revered contemporary writers. I think it's really interesting that they say it's dystopian because I don't know if it fits that well in that genre. I think it's more magical realism. I wouldn't call it dystopian. And also to rival George Orwell. I came into this book really thinking that it was going to be on par with like 1984, and I really didn't get that vibe. It was very different from like the Orwellian Big Brother 1984 vibe that I was anticipating. If you go in expecting that, you're going to be disappointed. A love story. Again, I would not classify this as a love story. There are two people who we are told love each other. It's weird. It's weird. I don't know if I'd call that a love story. If you're expecting a normal love story, you're gonna be disappointed. A mystery. It is very mysterious. It's not a normal mystery by any means. I don't think it fits neatly into that genre because Japanese literature in general was pretty weird. But you are confused for most of the novel, so I'll give it that one. A fantasy. Yes, but if you're thinking like traditional Western fantasy, I think you're gonna be disappointed. Are you sensing a trend here? It is fantastical, so I will give it that. For those who don't know how to summarize this book, it is about a guy and a girl. So you change point of views between this guy and this girl for most of the story. The girl, I should say girl, they're both grown. Just bear with me. The chick in it is a killer. So it starts off chapter 1, it's her. And she goes around, she gets like hired to essentially kill these guys. They're abusers, they're horrible people. It's kind of vigilante, you know, in the gray line kind of work. She has a special killing move with like a little like needle so that it looks like a natural heart attack death so people don't investigate, blah, blah, blah. It starts with that. So you're like, whoa, okay, I'm interested, I'm invested. And then immediately goes to chapter 2 where you're following this dude who may or may not write a novel. And you're like, why on earth are we following this dude? I'm a writer. I like writing. And even I'm like, can we get back to the chick who's murdering folks? Like that seems like where the story be. Like I don't, like you do you, Mr. Lonely Man who may or may not rewrite a novel, but I don't care. I eventually got around to liking both points of view. It took a while. It took about 60 pages. So if you choose to read this, go in knowing that. His side gets interesting, but not through him. He meets interesting people. He is encouraged to rewrite a novel by this like 17-year-old chick who's weird AF. And that comes into the plot later. And I'm like, okay, I'm interested now. Not as interested as the lady who's like running around ninja style killing people with needles, but you know, I'm a little bit invested. Essentially, in chapter 1, not much of a spoiler, it's chapter 1, is that assassin murder lady chick unknowingly crosses over into a different world. And she starts to like notice these things that don't make sense. And she's like, wait, when did police officers start wearing X? When did this event that someone was talking about happen? Because I pay attention to the news and never heard about this. And so she's like, this must be like a different world. Like the world I know, this isn't it. And so she starts in her head calling this new world 1Q84. Thus, the title. So this is a really, once you get into it, into the weird rhythm of it, it's a very hypnotic read. It's a read that just kind of takes you over. It's a weird thing. Words. I don't even know how to describe it. It's weird. It's weird. It's Japanese. If you've read Japanese literature, you know what I'm talking about. Also, I think Haruki Murakami just lives in a hypnotic state permanently, which is why he's able to write like this. Like, I haven't read like a fictional novel of his, but I did read his nonfiction, what I talk about when I talk about running, and he be cray-cray. Like, if you look up his schedule, like, he just like gets up at the butt crack of dawn, writes, and then he like runs a marathon, and then he swims a bit, and then he just listens to music. And that's like his schedule day in, day out consistently, which is wild. But yeah, like somehow like that's not mindless. Words are failing me. I'm not the best at these videos sober, so you're gonna have to work with me here. But yeah, like it's just weird enough that it doesn't push you away, but it just draws you in because you're like, what is going on? And like before you know it, like a whole chapter's passed and you're like, dude, what? Like, I thought it was really interesting, the segments with the little people. So the idea is, with the dude's point of view, is that the 17-year-old chick submits a manuscript to this contest. And they're like, this is a really dope plot and like idea. We just need to like finesse the language and the writing a little bit. So Mr. Dude, can you rewrite this? The story that she wrote is about these little people. And it's this weird story about this girl encountering these like creepy little men dude that come out of the mouth of this dead goat. And it's weird. It's weird, and the author's weird, and it just is weird. And I thought that was fascinating. I think most of the length of this book is warranted, minus like the 150 pages where all the characters are just waiting. I'm like, this could have been a 3-page montage. She is holed up in an apartment waiting. He is looking for clues for her and is waiting to figure shit out. This dude who comes into the plot later, who is looking for the both of them, is waiting to find the both of them. And I'm like, why? Come on. This is what, sometimes you need to tell, not show. I get it. We're waiting. I don't need over 100 pages of this. The other thing is, and this is consistent throughout, is my boy Haruki, he brings things up that don't need to be brought up. In weird moments, you'd be like, yeah, this is written by a dude. The main female character will like look in the mirror and be like, oh, I wish my breasts were more ample. And it's like, when has anyone ever thought like that? And just like, yeah, like the weird comparisons and the weird descriptions related to women's bodies, and you're like, none of this was necessary. It didn't add anything. It doesn't do anything stylistically that's interesting, other than me being like, my dude Murakami, are you okay? You are a really weird little Japanese man. Yeah, and there's this one scene I've been trying to forget since I read it. And it's so weird, because like, there's no need for it. In this scene, and again, I'm not gonna give anything away here, this dude and this chick are having a conversation naked in bed because they just had sex. And it's a very serious conversation. Like, it's a very important conversation both of them are invested in. They're naked in bed, and in between lines of dialogue, serious important dialogue, she's just flip-flapping his dick. For no reason. Like, it's distracting because it's like, hey, don't forget, she's flip-flapping his dick. And you're like, I was trying to, but you reminded me. I don't know why you reminded me. I don't know why that's the action she's taking. That's weird. It's not like they're having a serious conversation and she's like threatening him, like abusing the vulnerability between them. Like, I don't make it make sense. I don't get it. And it's things like that. Like, it'll be normal for many a page. And then something weird like that will happen. And I'm like, Haruki, you're too powerful for your own good. He's a really successful author, so I think they just let him do things. And I'm like, I think an editor should have told you to cut that, my dude. Why does that need to be in here? It's not even like we need to pad pages here with some big flapping. Like, I don't... So, there's that. That's a thing. Oh, here are some plot spoilers. So, by people who don't want to be spoiled, but you're missing out because this is a chunker. I don't think most of you are gonna read it. I think if you do read it, you'll have forgotten about this. Minus the dick flapping. I'm sorry about that. You're probably gonna remember that forever. And just remember, it's not my fault. It's the dude who wrote this. Like, I did not make that up. So, it's so weird. Like, the second half of this book, I have more problems with. I have more problems with because things just are a little bit of a head scratcher at times. So, plot happens, and the main chick in it is suddenly like,
I'm pregnant. I just know I'm pregnant.
And I'm like, I'm dubious, but I'll allow it. Like, whatever. Just, I don't think most people just have the spidey senses that they're pregnant, even though that's a common trope in movies for some reason. But, okay. As long as we don't have 3 chapters on it, sure, she's pregnant. But she's like,
I'm totally pregnant with the other main dude kid.
Even though they haven't seen each other in 20 years. And I'm like, okay, you've lost me. You've lost me. How? Why? When? Wait, like, and it's the speed at which she's like, oh yeah, this is clearly what happened, that I have a problem with. For those who've read the book and are wanting to argue with me, and they're like, oh, well, weird shit's happened, so she's just like, oh, it must be part of the weird shit. That's still asking a lot. That's like not the more obvious person, like, oh, maybe it's the leader's kid that she had this weird magical encounter with. Like, that would make more, like, if she had eventually come to the idea that it was the main dude's kid, that'd be different. But she, like, that's step one. Step one, she's just like,
it's this dude's kid.
Like, you know it's his kid because the plot, because like the person writing you knows. Like, you haven't done enough work for me to like be like, oh, she would deduce that. Second, if you're like, is she going a little cray-cray because she's in this alternate world? You didn't show enough of that. You didn't show enough of her going crazy. Like, you've pretty much maintained that she's been like, things are weird, but I'm logical about it this whole time. And then shortly after that, this dude finds out. And he's like,
oh, okay. That makes sense.
And it's like, in what? No. I just, even with these weird characters in this weird world, you have not made me believe that this is what they would think and do. These are pretty weird people in a pretty weird situation and world. And even then I'm like, that doesn't sound like them. That doesn't make sense. So that's like the first step of their like thought process. Also, I feel like a lot of people would be mad about the ending. By the time I was at the ending, I was just like, sure. So strange because like this is only like the second time ever that the main chick girl has been like trying to get out of this world, which is like, you'd think that she would have tried more things, but she was just like, she's just digging around. And of course, the second time works without a flaw. It's concluded that they don't know what new world they're in. Like, has the main girl returned to the world she came from and knows of? Or is this just a different world? And they both seem so chill about it. They seem like the world you just left had these magical little people that were trying to kill / get rid of you. And it had a very ominous stuff going with them. And this world you've gotten into could have similar, if not worse. And you're just like,
It's fine, cause love, we're together and we got magical baby Junior in my belly, so it's fine.
okay. Okay. Also, this love story is they both held hands once in like the 5th grade and then separated and haven't seen each other in like 20 years. And that's the like love story. And I'm like, yeah, no. I think the summary on the back sets the people who get into it up for a bad time. Because like if you're in for a love story, I don't know who's happy about it, about what they get. If you're a huge fan of Orwell, I think you would hate this book. If you're like going in for like an Orwellian dystopian thing. Keep trucking, fam, because it's not here. A novel of self-discovery. I don't think having a boner for a girl who held your hand once when you were 10 is much of self-discovery. Also, so many questions. Like, people disappear. And like, it's never answered. It's fine. They're probably dead, but the main characters are together, so that's fine. I do see why they're like, this is a pinnacle masterpiece of Murakami's, even though I haven't read his other work. I think this has got a little bit of like everything of his like vibe and his brand. Like he's doing a lot in these pages. I'm sorry, I rebooted just now. I was gonna make a grander claim that I can't really because I haven't read his stuff, but he's doing a lot in these pages. He's doing a lot. Like it's like, I think 4 different parts. It's a chunker. He's like melding storylines together. He's interweaving this idea of like different worlds. He's interweaving these different storylines of these different characters and this mystery and a story within a story, because you have this 17-year-old chick who writes a story about the little people, but then as you progress you realize, oh, this story is most likely her like autobiography because she's actually encountered the little people. And then you have like this weird thing where he's like, I think got an excerpt from like, I think it's Tolstoy, because like she's like reading her a story from one of the shelves to go to bed. It's wild, it's weird. There's everything to say about it and nothing to say about it. If you like Murakami, I think you'll like this. If you're down for a weird ass time and a wild ride, if you can get like 60 pages in, this is probably gonna be a book you enjoy. It's so weird. It's such a complicated thing to talk about because I couldn't put it down. And again, there was everything in it that should have made me put it down. That should have made me like rage through it against the wall. So props to Murakami on that. Like I had to give it a good rating because I'm like, hot damn, if you can like pull me through over 1,000 pages of wackadoodle nonsense, that's impressive. Final thoughts. This is a really weird ride, so just be ready. If you're wanting something that's similar to Orwell, give it a pass. If you want something that's pretty streamlined, makes sense, cohesive, this is not, babe, this is not your vibe. Keep looking, go elsewhere. If you're into quirky, if you're into weird, if you just want to give something random a shot, this is your book. Yeah. I don't know what to say. Like it's got me speechless in a way because there's individual things that like are absolutely bananas, but as a whole it's just so unique. And yeah, it's got me interested in what else Murakami writes, if it's of this vibe or if he does different things. Let me know down below if you've read this, what were your thoughts on it? I'm very curious on what other people thought about it. Let me know down below. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and I'll see you next time. Bye!